ladies and gentlemen, and other non-binary identifying individuals. How are you doing? My name is Brainsmasher, and we're in whatever this is. Thought I would kind of introduce you to the new man cave. It's not much to look at right now. This is long-term going to be the new CD wall, as I'm sure you're familiar with in my last videos. It's been a bit of a bummer that I haven't been able to have my CDs and my shelves and look at them and just dig around and play with them. I used to spend a lot of time doing that, but it's been 8 months since we did a From the Vaults, and it's time to get back into it whether I have shelves or not. I recently launched my Patreon campaign, and since a lot of you guys are generously giving to that and enjoying exclusive content on that stream of my output, a lot of that money is going to go into fixing this area up in the new house to be the man cave. So I really like that you guys get to be a part of making what you're going to be able to enjoy long term. Who knows when, who knows how much money, but shit ain't free, and I'm not throwing a lot of money out here. Cheers. Shout out to Nightmare Imagery Joe. He gave me this killer koozie. So we're going to be drinking one of these Wake Beer Hand of Doom. Pretty good stout. So, for those of you keeping track at home, one little caveat. Where I left off last was the end of the HAs. Now, I'm starting to label my boxes now that they're here. I've got several boxes of all my CDs. They're all safe and sound down here. But I'm not sure where the end of the HAs are. So there may be 5 or 10 CDs that fell between HA and HE, which is where we're going to pick up today. So, or the completionist, which I have a little bit of a touch of the OCD in my head. There's a couple in there that I might be missing out on. Like, I don't have Havayoff or anything, but I can't think of anything that would come after HAR to HEL. I don't know, it's going to drive me nuts. You might have to look it up on Discogs to find out. But anyways, I digress. Let's get into some stuff. These riffs that I hope you're hearing, how are the levels? Let me know. This is The Chasm. None other than The Chasm. Fucking slick, amazing death metal band from Mexico, Chicago, now deceased. I think these guys, so I saw their last show back in 2019. It was killer. Some other form, iteration, different name, not sure, but this album is Far-Seeing the Paranormal Episome, out on Vic Records. Came out in 2012. They did another record after this, but it was instrumental, and definitely the primary thing these guys are bringing to the table is riffs, instrumentation. Drummer is amazing. I somehow kind of check out though when they're instrumental, and I don't know why you would put so much effort into writing an album, performing it, recording it, and just leaving it with no vocals. I get like an instrumental track on an album is really cool, but having like an instrumental album in its entirety, I don't know. I may not be giving it the shot that it deserves, but that was their last record. But this one came before it, and this one just rules. A lot of like sinister, occulty, kind of black metal tremolo picking, but a lot of it also stylistically can be traced back to like early thrash and that kind of crossover into death metal. Great stuff. Timeless band. Gotta love it. All right, so funny enough, we're in the H-E-L's. We're in the Hells. But we're not in the H-E-L-L's. There are 3 bands with H-E-L in their name. The first one is none other than Helheim. Now there's 2 Norway Helheims. Let's try and keep this straight. You probably all know I'm not the best at keeping this kind of stuff as straight as I wish I could. But this album is called Fenris. Came out on Necropolis in 95. Thank you, Necropolis, for putting the year on the back of the CD. So, I don't know much about these guys, but I put this on every now and then, and I'm like, fuck, why don't I listen to this more often? It's totally just a cutout, kind of forgettable kind of record. There's really not a whole lot of notoriety to it. There's not a lot of remarkable qualities about it, but it's fucking solid. It's weird here and there. It's obviously like identifiably Norwegian black metal, which to me, in my heart of hearts, I am a diehard Norwegian black metal fan. I've been kind of having like a renaissance of listening habits lately where I'm going back into the deepest, darkest, forgotten Norwegian black metal albums in my collection that I haven't listened to in a really long time. And a lot of it has been spurred on by that Maktatas debut album, Blot. I'm getting off track here, but this is really interesting. Like I said, I don't really know much about these guys. I don't know if they really did anything else. See, I'm getting this confused with another Helheim. I'm not sure if this is the Helheim that is out now, active now, or the next Helheim. Anyways, this is a fun release. It is a kind of an EP. I think there's only 4 songs on it. I surely could have looked up to see if there was some more info on it beforehand, but I didn't do that. I got shit to do, man. But this is really good. Worth checking out. I am thinking about trying to like really close in on making sure I have all of the Necropolis releases. I'm pretty fucking close. I thought I might try and like cinch it up after like before 98 or something like that and like do a long ass video about my love for Necropolis. This was a recent pickup. I actually wound up picking this up like last winter or so. And this is the other Norwegian Helheim, the Viking-ish, the more Viking-ish Norwegian band with Avnornet. I guess if you want to sound like you're pronouncing something right, just like mispronounce it more. That's basically my rule for trying to pronounce Norwegian. So this is like a Charisma Records reissue. I believe this came out on, was it Solstitium back in the day? So this originally was released in 97. It's a tedious kind of listen. I picked this up because I try and collect everything that Eric Gudvin recorded in Greek Holland Studios. Because really most of that stuff has a real charm to it, no matter what the music is. But this is surprisingly amateurish. They sound like a band really trying to find their footing and kind of reach out into some new territories and find some personality there. And it's uncomfortable at times. This isn't terrible by any means. I think a lot of people kind of consider this somewhat of an underestimated classic. I wouldn't go that far. But it is weird. It is amateurish in a lot of ways. And I know these guys did some more stuff that I think a lot of people acclaim higher than this one. This was just kind of a starting point for me getting into this band last year or so. And that's about all I can really go into it. There aren't any parts where I'm like, yeah, that's great, that works. But I can tell what they're going for. And I just, like, I find myself just going, hey, not quite there, but maybe keep trying. You'll nail it next time, guys. Keep on the fire. Yeah. A little lukewarm of an album for me. This is going to be a weird file, so I hope this turns out to be a good video. Which one came first here? I got to find out. 88. So, this band fucking rules. Hellstar, A Distant Thunder. A band I do not listen to nearly enough. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Why don't I listen to fucking Hellstar all the time? But I think I lucked out and found these in 2 separate used bins over the years. This is the Nosferatu record. Came out a year after, so 88, 89. US power metal. Just amazing band, but they really don't get enough credit. Like I said, I'm not like familiar with them enough to be giving you a lot of the nuances and stuff, and I'm not really brushed up on these to tell you any like recent reflections on these records. But I do listen to either one of these maybe every 2 or 3 years or so, and again, like, why don't I listen to this band more fucking often? But I'm pretty happy to have these in my collection. I know these guys have a couple of other albums, maybe even these. I think I even saw these guys were playing some fests this year or something. But as far as I know, this is all you need, these 2 right here. So to have like the best 2 of a band that I kind of just like, I'm a pedestrian about. I love that I have like their best 2 albums. So getting into a band that I don't really care for, Demon Entrails, Hellhammer, none other than Hellhammer. I put these in, so before I moved out of the house and like packed all this shit up, I filled my CD wallets with CDs that I wanted to kind of re-listen to and re-familiarize myself with, kind of try and reapproach certain bands. And this is one of the things that I put in those wallets, and I wound up listening to one of these CDs. I'm gonna say probably CD number 1, Satanic Rites, and there's a re-recorded songs on here. But I'll tell you, man. So I'm sort of coming around to Celtic Frost. I'm coming around to the idea of Celtic Frost. Not that I've been actively necessarily listening to Celtic Frost. I think I'm working my way up to listening to more Celtic Frost and kind of maybe warming up to them a little bit. And it's got a lot to do with my friends in Dryad. They are just absolute Tom G. Warrior lunatics, and they've become great friends of mine. And I've just always thought that Tom Warrior riffs, whether they're in Hellhammer or Celtic Frost, are just below me. Below me. Too simplistic, too barbaric, too unmusical. But I've come to understand that their evolution out of kind of a punky, crusty, sort of late 70s, early 80s style is the very birthplace of black metal in a lot of ways. Not that that was ever lost on me, I get it, but actually liking it is really a different thing for me. Because I cut my teeth fucking 15 years after all that stuff took place. So I was a late bloomer in a lot of ways. The stuff is very simplistic, barbaric, and some just bare knuckle, bare bone, nothing to it kind of stuff, and it has a lot of aesthetic charm to it. I need to come back and listen to the second disc, Triumph of Death. I feel like this band might have been maybe more respected by me had there been just like one proper full length that just ruled them all. But I think that kind of basically was Morbid Tales in a lot of ways, which I have on vinyl, and it's okay. So, Hellhammer. If you're a big Hellhammer fan or Celtic Frost fan, I recommend checking out Dryad. I'll put a link down below for them, as well as all this stuff for you to check out. They are doing a very astute job at paying homage to crusty punk kind of music from the late 80s. but also a lot of kind of mid-90s black metal. And they have a full length coming out on prosthetic that I'm really, really amped to hear. So next we've got a band that kind of reflects an era when I was young and full of more piss and vinegar than I am now. And I listened to a lot of like nasty, evil, grindy kind of stuff. And this was an outlier kind of band for me, mostly because of my roommate at the time. He was more like, I would love to like introduce him to Jason Hook or Ground Zero Salem. Jason Hook, rest in peace. Because he was way into hardcore punk and kind of nothing else. So some of his stuff kind of bled over into me during that time because I was listening to just absolute drivel, caveman, grindcore, knuckle dragging garbage. But some of that stuff kind of still holds up. So got a stack of stuff from none other than Hell Nation. And like, I don't know, these guys, first of all, from an outsider perspective, I would say it feels like they never quite got their due. But they're one of those bands that had just like a shit ton of 7 inches, splits, maybe like toured more than they even released, even though they've got like 3-inch CDs and a plethora of releases in their discography. I don't believe they're still active anymore. These are just a couple that I wound up ordering back then, things that I found in some used bins throughout the years, and looking back, I couldn't really tell you which one of these I would have preferred more than the other. I think Fucked Up Mess was the most recent one, and the last one that I actually listened to. Alright, I'm sorry if there's a fucking weird cut there in Hell Nation. I ran out of room on my phone, apparently. I need to get that sorted out, but yeah, I have 18 minutes to finish up this video. Now, man, I did such a good job in the last 20 minutes that I did the talking to you that is now completely lost, and I'm going to stumble through trying to remember everything that I said and say it again. So, going to need some help with that. So, next is a band that I have been listening to for many years, but I've also been listening to a lot of lately because their new album is fucking untouchably perfect. The new Halloween album is monstrous. It's everything it needed to be. It's maybe eclipsed all their other stuff, which, like, this is one of my favorite fucking bands. The new Halloween is just unbelievably perfect, so check it out if you're whatsoever skeptical. You're wrong. It's goddamn impressive. It's so fucking untouchable. I've got a couple of like caveat criticisms about it, but I can totally overlook those things because it is a monstrous. It's just so fucking fun, enjoyable. It's so free spirited. It's just absolutely one of the best maybe comeback albums I've ever heard from a band. And this is a band like I only fuck with Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1 and 2. There you go. So we'll take it back to like I was probably 18 years old or so. I walked into a church rummage sale, and there was a stack of tapes there. There was a lot of like Christian hair metal in there. I bought them all. Y&T, Kicks, Zentrix, whatever. I kind of wish I still had them, but whatever. But the two that stuck in my collection, well, there was Exodus, Fabulous Disaster. That was a really, really big discovery for me. But I since got rid of it, and I don't fucking listen to Exodus whatsoever anymore. But there was a copy of Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2. And from the years when I was like maybe 17, 18 to 25 or so, I drove cars that had tape players in them, and I had a pretty modest tape collection. So the albums that I did have on tape, and for the most part still do have on tape, were like big albums to me. I would make mixtapes here and there, but those albums that I had on tape for those years were big to me because I listened to them in my car all the fucking time. So I am so well familiar with Keepers Part 2. So it was only maybe 2 or 3 years after I got Part 2 on cassette that I thought, well, you know, if this is Part 2 and it's great, I should probably pick up Part 1. And yeah, it's every bit as good as part 2. And like, there's a lot of people I think who, for me, this band is Halloween, but for a lot of other people, that's Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, whom I respect and adore for various reasons. But for me, it's these 2 records. This is like above all power metal. It's above traditional metal to me. This is just Halloween. One of the most incredible bands there ever was. Because of these 2 records. Now I had, like I said, Walls of Jericho. Didn't really, I missed its mark with me. I'm sure I'd be able to respect it now that I'm a lot older, but I wound up getting rid of it. And I've also got this fucking Pink Bubbles Go Ape. I've never been able to get around the cover of this. I don't know. I'm sure it's got a couple of good songs on it, but I'm not gonna listen to it. Gotta be listening to Hell Nation before I wind up listening to Halloween. So a couple more. So this is something I got back in the winter before we moved. Just kind of something I've always kind of wanted to get. Didn't want to spend more than probably like $8 on this thing because it's a total cutout bin Swedish black metal album. But it's worth it for about that. But the album cover is one of the cringiest fucking things you'll ever see. Check out the devil's hairy ass legs on that thing. The band is called Hellspell. The album is called Devil's Might. And whoever made this the face of this album did just the biggest disservice to this record. It's not an amazing record. I'd be lying to you if I told you this was a great album. But it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's cut out in Swedish black metal. And sometimes that's just what life calls for. You just need to listen to shit-ass Swedish black metal because you've played the shit out of your Cythereals and your Thy Primordials and your Dawns, etc. And this is there waiting for you. It's pretty good. I'm not super familiar with it yet. Like I said, I've just kind of always known about it, but just like never really wound up getting a copy of it until last year. Yeah. So I've saved the best for last, but first, I launched my Patreon a week or 2 ago now. I've had a couple of people join. I'm trying to like make more content so that I can not abandon you guys here on YouTube. I'm going to keep on making content for YouTube, but I'm also making a little bit different, a little bit better content, hopefully a lot better, for Patreon. And I still haven't quite worked out yet what I want to do with it, like how I want to keep on doing YouTube versus Patreon. What's most important to me is that I'm motivated to make better content that I feel like making. So I appreciate you guys who have already subscribed to my Patreon, but if you want to support me, it's $6.66 a month to encourage me to make better content. And you guys might feel like what I've been doing for the last couple of years is fine, but I guess I kind of need a kick in the pants to make something a little bit better. And I couldn't really think of any better way than having you guys pay a little bit less money than a bag of sandwiches to encourage me to do so. And that money will eventually become how I afford restoring the walls in what will soon be, maybe not soon, I don't know, the man cave. I'm going to have the CD wall back up in here. It's going to be expanded, even bigger. We're going to have the records down here. We're going to hang out. I'd love to have some friends down here and fucking blast records, but this is day one. This ain't pretty. So I need your support. If you want to be a part of making this be what I dream it will someday be, then hop over to my Patreon channel and throw me a couple of bucks, and hopefully you will think that it's worth your while. If not, no pressure, whatever. Also, you've got a month now to buy my new shirt. It's got my new Brainsmasher logo on it, which is so fucking sick. It was made by Joe, Nightmare Imagery. And it's got sick fucking artwork on it. And it even says, smash their brains and eat their butts on the bottom of it. Yeah, fucking heard me. That's what it says on the bottom of the shirt. So, the shirt's $20 plus shipping in the US. But, if you sign up for the Patreon channel, I'll give you a $5 coupon on the shirt. So, the shirt's $15 if you join the Patreon. So, even if you want to just like sign up for Patreon for a month, save $5, fuck the Patreon after that, I don't care. Just do whatever you gotta do to live your life and enjoy your freedom. So that's what's going on. You've got another month to order the shirt. I don't know if I'll ever repress it again. We'll see. I may kind of keep some extra copies around for friends. We'll see, but I'm not making any promises, so please go ahead and order the shirt. I'm doing pre-orders, so I'm only printing what you guys order, so don't comment or ask me after the fact. This is your chance to order the shirt. It's $20 plus shipping. If you wait, you're gonna miss out. So, last album, absolute Tampa death metal stalwarts. This band is so underappreciated, it's fucking criminal. Hell Witch. This release is called The Final Approach. You might not know what that is, or what I'm even holding in my hand. This is Digital Miscreancy with a bunch of demo tracks tacked on the end of it. If you're not familiar with Hell Witch, I'm sorry. Really need to familiarize yourself. So there are a lot of death metal, proto-death metal bands who are there at the foundation moments of the transition from late 90s thrash metal into death metal, who get all the credit for that. But these guys were banging these songs out as far back as 1984. Nosferatu is a track that is on the debut, Digital Miscreancy, which I think came out in like 89. So they were demoing the songs that wound up being their debut full length for as much as 5 years. And that album, one of the things that's most impressive about that album is how well written, performed, and recorded those things are. They fucking smoke through that album. It's so fucking good. But it is a thrashy death metal, but they're from Tampa, and I believe it was recorded in Morris Sound Studios. So it doesn't really get, lumped in with the canon of your Cannibal Corpses and your Deaths, because those guys just fucking blew up and I think toured all over the place. Hell Witch, I don't think really stuck out that well. They may have made the wrong choice in releasing that album on Wild Rags. I've got it on LP, but they just kind of never really took off like a lot of those bands did. But man, Digital Miscreancy is such a fucking amazing record. And I believe underneath the text you can see this is the cover for it. Tell you what, since I don't have to worry about copyrights on Patreon now, here's the cover. And here's a sample from the album. How fucking good is that? Get Digital Miscreancy by Hell Witch, or get The Final Approach. I'm not sure if there's like a CD reissue of it or whatever out there that you can get. I do believe this is kind of sought after because it's got the demo tracks on it as well. But Progressive Art Music put this out in 2003, and I believe it's kind of pricey, maybe $25-30 or so. But if there is no other way that I know of to get this album on CD, it's worth it. Such a fucking crucial band. Hell Witch fucking rules, absolutely destroys. That is it. Thanks for joining me down here in the ruins. But hope you're doing good. Keep listening to metal, especially if it's the Chasm. Listen to the Chasm if you don't listen to the Chasm. Bye!